Will Snyder ever not be a snake?
I don't think he's a snake. It's like, no. I mean, you're born a snake, you're a snake. And he's, thanks to Ryan and Condell and Wes, he's really a snake, and they put him in a lot of really good pits. And the kind of turf that any snake would love to be in. Yeah, I mean, that's who he is. Again, I say I'm not a snake because, for me, Snyder is trying to survive and do good. It just doesn't look that way to everybody else.
He's just one of those great characters you love to hate.
Yeah, but he's also, I think he's a good guy, too, and I hope that also comes out. I don't think he's just sort of an icky person, you know.
Well, something you said in the panel was that he's a survivor, and I think that kind of like perfectly encapsulates your character in a lot of ways. Do you think there's anything he wouldn't do to survive?
I can't think of it. But that's what's neat about him is that the bar would just get, raised further and further, and the goalposts put further away. Again, and so what's interesting is that here's a man who will readjust his moral stance, his ethics, or just his, sense of how to survive, and he'll pretty much do anything.
And it's interesting too because Will and Katie kind of have to trust Snyder in order to get them out of the block. And on the one hand, we understand that dilemma, and on the other hand, we're like, no, this is going to go badly so fast.
But what's also good is that they keep Will and Katie cautious. I mean, there's never, like Katie especially, and Sarah does that so well with me that I don't like you at all. Because Sarah and I don't like each other anyway. So it's an easy. But that's good writing, is to make sure that everybody in this situation, at least there's two sides that don't trust each other, and yet we need each other. And as long as that dynamic remains, there's a lot of room for growth and a lot of room for some really exciting stuff.
Yeah, some great drama.
Yeah.
It seemed like there were a lot of things that Snyder learned last season that he probably didn't really understand before. Do you think that's kind of pushing him more into survival mode, or an idea of more, this is not something I want to be associated with?
I think he's always first and foremost in survival mode. I think he'll associate himself anywhere, anytime, any place in order to survive. It's a good question. It's a tough question. I think that's all I. You got me. I'll have to ask Ryan.
So going into season 3, what would you say motivates the character to keep getting out of bed every day?
Well, in our world, sheer survival, and certainly as the season ramped to a close in season 2, every minute was how do I stay alive into the next hour. There will be some, season 3 will start after a little bit of time has passed. So, it won't be quite. Oh, here he is.
I really can't believe anything Snyder said.
I just gave it away. So, there will be some kind of a reprieve, so Snyder doesn't have to get out of bed thinking, well, at any moment you could die in this world, but, the dragons aren't quite at the door. Is that mixing a metaphor, a dragon at the door? So wolves are not quite at the door, but they're lurking outside, and things ramp up really quickly, so I'll be getting out of bed soon enough. Not sure if I'm going to make it, get my feet to the floor. So.
What are you watching, guys? When you're choosing new projects and new characters to look for, what is your motivation in something new?
Does the character speak to me? Do I like the piece as a whole? That's really the first. I mean, there are some great characters written in a stinko piece, and it's still fun to play. But you want to see it when all the things are sort of, cooking on the same cylinder. I've mixed my metaphors again.
Right, that's all great.
They're all firing on all cylinders, and I'm tired. And on this show, this is a really interesting world, a fabulous character, the other characters are well drawn, the relationships are clear, and it's just smart writing. That was, for me, right away a recipe of I will take a look at this and I really think. House was another one. I mean, I was already, it wasn't like I had to read the pilot and say, will this be any good? It was already a huge hit. So I was like, yeah, I think I'll be in that. But it felt like I could see how my character would fit into that world, and the writing is obviously stupendous. It doesn't always happen that way. There are a lot of things that projects out there where one thing is great and the others are really lacking. You just sort of hope that the balance is there enough that it makes it worthwhile.
Great.
Yeah.
Makes sense.